So you decide to do a thing, and then you decide to do a thing better, and then you decide to do a thing even better than that. So this is the latest take on my version of an 3cx3000a7. If I was to build this amp today, you'd get a black monolithic brick that you'd plug your coaxes and stuff into, and you get an amp on your phone. This is the last one that I'll ever build like this. This is the amp that I built as a memorial to my business partner who's passed. You guys all watched the YouTube video on this one. This one I didn't put the switch in the door, nor did I put the lights on it, but the whole amp is backlit. And I built this a little bit differently. There's different parts that are in this that are in the other three that I built like this. One of the major parts is this is my friend's ashes. The gentleman that had me build this as a memorial to him, he wanted to take the ashes out, and I said, no, leave them. Frank wouldn't want to leave the amp. And he goes, yeah, you're right. He goes, Luke, you're absolutely right. This box I built for a friend of mine with absolutely no restraints attached. He said, just make this happen. And we built this based off of a tube that was left over in my friend's estate, right? And the tube ended up being bad, so then I called up a Conco back when they were somewhat reasonable, and I got a new tube. I spent, I'm not kidding you, an hour looking for the keys for this cabinet today. Look, when you pour your blood and your life soul into something like this, I'm just grateful that the guys that own these things understand and really do appreciate how much energy and effort goes into making these things. But I spent an hour looking for keys today, and I finally had to sit down and have a quiet minute and go, where did I put them? And then it dawned on me that the last thing my friend handed me when I went to leave his place were the keys. And I told myself, I said, man, I know I've got these keys someplace. He hands me the keys, he goes, don't lose these. And I remember I took and I chucked them in my center console of my dually. And I went, did I leave them in the dually? Yes, I left the keys for this amp in the dually. Had to go out and go find my keys today for this thing. So it's got keys on it to keep people's fingers out of it, like little kids, grandbabies, your own babies. Keep fingers, and people that come to your house keep fingers out of things. Helps keep people alive, right? The guys that own these understand how much energy and blood and tears, and like this took 3.5, almost 4 weeks to build. As you guys know, the details on these things are just, it's over the top. Like everything's hand tied, and everything that needs to be twisted's twisted, and everything's got a label on it, and very clear to understand what every circuit does, especially when every connection on both sides has got a label, right? No need for a schematic diagram. You do that for yourself and for the guy that's coming after you to work on it. Because I'm not always going to be here, folks. I might be the youngest guy in the hobby. Not anymore. I was before I started building these. Now I'm an old man, old worn out man. But the next guy, the guy that replaces me, who wants to work on things. I changed the design of this a little bit. Like on the other two, I had the time on circuit right up here in the front where you could see it through the glass. On this version, I put all the contactors and all that kind of stuff right here where you could have access to it without having to stick your hands on anything, right? Put a fan directly on the rectifier bank. Got a fan on the bleeder. It's got an intake fan back here on the back that pulls fresh air in. You can see it right here on the corner. Pulls fresh air in, a little bit of positive reinforcement for air pressure. On the other boxes, I had the RF going out the other side. The RF and the power and all that stuff going out the other side. This one, I've got it coming out this side. Of course, that was built to the gentleman's preferences, right? Now, the guys understand that I got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in these things, and so when it comes time for them to move on, like Jason got into this hobby hot and heavy, and then he ended up wanting to sell his house and do all this other stuff, and he decided that he wanted to let this go. He came back to me and said, would you be willing to take care of the sale for me? And I said, but of course. That gives me the opportunity to take it apart and look at everything, see if anything's come loose, wiggled, jiggled, or whatever. This thing rode from Texas to California to Idaho. Initially was born here, rode from Idaho to Arizona to Texas, and now it's getting ready to go back to Ohio. I was going to offer this up for sale, but I had another gentleman that I know, another guy that I know, in my travels this last time I was out, basically reach out to me and say, hey, that 3000 that you're going to have up for sale, I want it. This is our metering board bank. So if a guy wanted to add a grid resistor or a grid meter, you'd hook up another resistor on these two prongs and then run the leads over to the meter on the front. It's all pre-wired for a lot of different stuff. Once again, like the other ones, this one has a big enough supply in it to run like 4 or 6 3000s, 2 6s, or a pair of 10, or a single 10 straight out. The only thing you'd have to change is the RF deck. This one I went with a lot more noise dampening material. I made it bottom blown, where the other one was top blown, and then I made the RF deck separate with a separate pressurized enclosure. I did this one with a, I think, 650 CFM fan, just a little bit bigger than what it needs. And yeah, this thing's got, I heard yesterday on the phone when the new owner and the old owner were together, talking together on the phone. Oh, and I changed the caster wheels out on this one, so these are a little bit more heavy duty. I changed how the floor pan on this one's done. It's just different. Everything in this is just a little different, but with a twist towards the better side, because now I'd had 3 other boxes worth of experience and watched how they run. And so I just added a little bit more to it, you know what I mean? The owner of this amp, the ex-owner of this amp, volunteered that he only used this for maybe about 7 to 10 hours. This was way more box than what he needed for his little part of the universe. So he'd always run around on the driver. Well, I got the driver too. The driver's hanging out around the corner over there. We're going to go through it as well. Not in this video, in another one separate. It's going to be for sale. It's a single 3500Z. So we're using a single 3500Z. I'm 10 watt radio maxed out, going into that single 3500Z, going into this. And he never drove that 3500Z past about 500 watts. So low talk time. When I sold it, it had a brand new Aconco tube in it. And like a dumbass, I forgot to grab the box for the tube. There was a lot going on. I was really trying to get down the road. So let's see, I got the screws in the back I got to take off. I just want to pop the top off. I want to visually inspect everything. We're going to slowly bring it up. There should not be anything I have to fix on this box. Maybe a fan. Maybe a fan. But we'll see. We'll power this up and we'll go through it stage by stage by stage. All right, let's get the top off. Let's take a look inside the RF deck. It's like, once again, I changed the design. I changed where the tube sits in the RF deck, but I changed the lid. You see this lip that's here? Well, that whole lip has been trimmed away on this side. It's got a little bit of a heat shield going on here, and then I've got this kill mat, which serves a dual purpose. The lip, let's go back to that real quick. You undo all the screws and you just push on the cabinet. So you'd like take your leg and push it up against the edge of the cabinet on this side. And you just push on the cabinet, whoop, the lid comes right off. It's got quick disconnects. The fan on the top, of course, 120 volts. It just makes it easier to disassemble. The other ones I didn't trim the lip back. So you gotta go, and you gotta muscle it out. This amp, it's got 1 inch by 1 inch aluminum angle built into the corners of it. And this thing's way more sturdy than the other three that I built. I changed, like I said, I changed things, but only to make them either stronger or better on this box, right? Being that this is an all-enclosed one-piece amplifier, the fan guard is a little bit overkill. A little bit overkill. So I built this years ago. God, how many years has it been since Frank's been gone? 3, 4 years now? 2001, I do believe. Yeah. It's been 4 years. Man, it just seems like it was yesterday. I got on Facebook last night, and there was a guy, he's been working on a 3000 build of his own, kind of copying this guideline and taking input from other builders, and he goes, man, you know, you'll never guess what I learned from. And he mentioned this other guy's name. And he goes, man, I threaded in and I screwed right into the Teflon chimney, and it bolted right up. Man, that chimney's on there solid as a rock. And I've been telling this guy for 4 days, I said, dude, don't mount the chimney to the bottom of the deck. Do it like Henry and everybody else that really knows what they're doing. Mount the chimney to the lid. And so for him to mention this other builder's name, I'm like, okay, well, cool. The other builder pointed out to him, you know, with that thick of a piece of Teflon, you can mount it right to the... Dude, this is bolted down. 2021, it's been 4 years. Teflon chimney's mounted right to the... There's nothing new. There's nothing new. Came up with that idea from my teacher. What is that? It's got some dust in it. Wow. The tube has no time on it at all. Like, no time. Nothing's backed. Oh, I got one screw that's backed out. Looks just like the day it left here, which is encouraging. This makes me happy. Okay, well, good to go. Man, nothing's been hot. Coil's not discolored. Fins aren't discolored on the tube. There was like crumbles of something on the lid up here. And there's the same little crumbles on the inside, this dust. Well, let's quit talking. Let's get on with this. I just went over every nut and bolt in this thing, and I found this screw and that screw over there were loose. That was it. Well, let's turn the fans on. Let's turn the filament on, and we're gonna let the tube cook for a minute, like a few hours. And then we'll put the lid back on it, and we'll put the sides back on it, we'll put the door back on it, and we'll bring the high voltage up, which we're not gonna have any problems. Man, the way I built this thing was so different compared to the other three. Like, I've got a 120 millimeter AC fan pulling fresh air into the RF deck, and then I got a little shield on it that's blowing air across the diodes for the bias. Versus the other three, I built these boards, and then I got little like 40 millimeter fans, and then I had to knock the voltage down, had independent power supplies running the fans, and Nah, make the air that cools the cabinet cool the diodes. I mean, it's so much easier the way I built this. Not as complex is what I'm getting at. All right, well, let this cook. We'll be back here in a little bit, you guys. Okay, so we got the plate bolts on, 3000's running, got all the sides and the front and the back and everything all put on it. I've got the bench 4-pill getting driven by the bench striker 955 made by D-Rail. Okay, this is a 100-watt slug in reverse. This is our pass-through. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So we're making about 500 watts. Why are we only making 500 watts? Our voltage is floating around 11 volts, or 12 volts. So everything's running about 11.5 volts. Okay? So we got a good pass-through tune. Now, let's go over here and let's thoroughly document what we've got in here for elements. It's a 1,000 watt slug in peak. It's a 5,000 watt slug in average. Five kW in average. All right. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hello, 1, 1. Now you can't tell me that the 3000 isn't geared like a rocket ship. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right around 500 watts. Hello. RF is getting into that meter again. We're at 11.9. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Wow, that thing is tripped out. What happened with this thing? What the? Come back to the amp gauge in a minute. Okay, so now let's step on the pedal. It's gone, right? So we're just barely putting 93 watts of dead key in this thing. It's over 2,000 plus. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch to a 10 kW element. Okay? Now we're on a 10 kW element, reading forward. Hello. Hello. With 500 watts of drive, making easily 8,000 watts of power. Okay? Let's go look at our input tune. $500 watts going in. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Did you see the needle move? I didn't. Let's go down in resolution. That's now a 5 watt slug in reverse. Hello, 1, 2. It's pretty good in my opinion. It's really good. So the input tune on this box is spot on the money. So with the 5,000 watt slug reading an average, this is where we get into the weird land, right? So now we're going to read a 5,000 watt slug in peak. See how it says PEP? Hello. This is showing me 9,500 watts worth of peak power, and it wants to give us more. So, seeing that this meter reads a little low, we'll put that back on average. Remember, this has got a built-in multiplier in it. It'll just keep reading. Let's go ahead. Let's turn our volts up a little bit. Let's say 14.5. Hello, 1, 2. Let's go back over here. We'll pull the 10 kW out and put the 1,000 watt slug back in the hole. Pardon me. So the 10 kW is out. 1,000 watts back in the hole. Remember, we were making 500 watts of drive before. Hello. Now we're making 800 watts. Hello. 1, 2. About 400 watts bird going into the 3000. Now we already know that we're going to max this out. So just we'll go ahead and put the 10K in there. Hello. Off the scale. Hello. Over 6,000 watts average. Turn this over to peak. Hello. We're over limit. We're over 10 grand. So go back to average. We'll take our 5,000 watt slug out. Put our 10,000 watt slug in the hole in the average position. And this is our 25 kW element. Just got this from Coaxial Dynamics, by the way. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's about 12,000-ish watts, somewhere in there. Now I forgot to change the elements. There we go, 10 kW on average. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's turn this over to peak. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. 11,600 watts peak power. Back to average. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, what I want to do is I want to play with the tune and the load, but the leg for the tripod's in the way. And I can't help but notice, here's our 100 watt element, we took it out. This is now our 5 watt element in reverse by going up to 800 watts of drive. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. We got about 1 watt worth of input reflect. Let me turn some knobs. Turn some knobs. Give me a minute. Okay, input tune. 5 watt slug. Now, first off, let me just point out the obvious to everybody. That having this big long run of 393, this coax is getting very hot. And all that means is it's lost watts. Well, I've got 393 going from the box all the way over across all these different line sections and back down, and it spits out here, and it goes directly into the bird 10,000 watt dummy load. What we showed in the last video is how quickly the dummy load connection heats up once we get over 10,000 watts peak. So let's just kind of keep an eye on that. So let's get back over here to the input tune. Got to keep an eye on our heat. 5 watt slug in reverse back from the amplifier. There we go. Hello, 1, 1, 1, hello. And we're making right around 13,000 watts peak when we're doing this. Now what I showed in the other video is the more drive you put in it, of course, the more it's going to do. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 13,100, 13,200 on the digital meter. On the average meter, or on the peak meter, on the analog side, it's showing around 13,000, 14,000 watts. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, please note That's from a 5,000 watt standing dead key. Let's reach up here. We'll put it in average. Hello. So we're swinging up over 6,000 average in watts, making 13,000 watts at peak. Now, let's keep an eye on this meter. That's in milliwatts. It's a 5 watt element in reverse back from the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. So under that old Model T was a place she first showed it to me. It was big and it was black and she called it her crack, but it looked like a manhole to me. So I pulled out my telephone pole and I stuck it in her black manhole. As she began to scream, I poured on the cream in the color of the old Model T. What we noticed is we went from like 200 or 300 milliwatts to a watt, to a watt 0.2 to a watt 0.3, almost 2 watts worth of reflect. That's the dummy load saying, hey, you're putting a little bit too much in me, calm down. And really what's heating up is not the dummy load, it's the PL259 connectors between the amp and the dummy load. Specifically, this PL259 connector going to this LC connector on the front of the dummy load. This PL259 connector is saying, hey dude, stop. So either it be this connector that's between these two meters, this connector, or the one here on the end, it's heating up and it's causing resistance. I'm probably losing, without thinking about it too hard, probably a good solid almost 1,000 watts in heat between the coax and all the different connectors from the amp. And if we were to move this meter over and put it right next to the amplifier, we'd see even more watts without changing anything on the amp or the drive, just simply because of the loss in the coax. Very lossy. Now 393 will hold it, and what I mean by hold it is it won't arc over, won't melt, and won't break down, but it will get so hot that you could leave your fingerprints on it. Let the connectors cool down again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now here we go. We're going to start heating up now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Head 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Head 1, 2. Head 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Head 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you see how it's slowly coming up? We'll just sit here and throw 5,000 out. 5,200 watt dead key out of a 3,000. Going forward. To 7,200 watts average. With 1, 2, 500 watts of drive. Don't let the reflect freak you out. Remember, 5 watt element. Now doing that high of a dead key is really hard on the box. The tube's not designed to dissipate that much heat on a continuous duty. Remember, it's the reason they call it a 3000 is because that's what it's designed to do, is sit there and modulate at 3,000 watts. And you can smell it, right? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's a 100 watt slug. One, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, hello. 10 watts or so on pass through. Not that big of a deal. Really. This thing works just the way it should. I could get out the LD MOS amplifier and drive it really hard and we could get some peak numbers out of it. Well, I guess we could do that. I guess we could. This is my 6-year-old, made in 2019 4 transistor BLF 188XR amplifier. I'm putting no drive in this. I'm going to use the bench 2950 and I've got it turned all the way down. Dead key all the way down. I got the mic gain pulled way back. And with the mic gain pulled all the way back, this amp, this is 1000 watt and 2X, by the way. But oh, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's 1600 watts worth of drive. Switch the 10K over to peak. But oh, that's a lot of drive for a 3000. I mean a lot. Like I want to turn that down actually. But oh, 1300 watts of drive. Okay. Now, hopefully I don't block your view, and I'm sorry if I do. That's our 25,000 watt element in 1X. We can all see the element. We can all see the numbers. And I don't know what it's going to do with this amp. I know what it did with the other one that I just did on video here a few months ago. Now I got to step on not one but 2 foot pedals. But oh, audio. 1X or 2? 1. Okay. But oh. But oh, audio. 14,000 and some change. Okay. What's our input reflect? But oh, 15,000 watts peak. And our input reflect is still, guess what? Flatter than a coffin nail. But oh, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Turn drive up a little bit. But oh, put about 2,000 peak in it. Never do this, by the way. This is something you do to show off to your friends. Really what this wants is like 4-pill drive, somewhere between 5 and 800 watts peak, and it'll last you forever. But oh, audio, 16,000. Let's take and go back to average. But oh, completely different radio. Hence the reason the lower average numbers. Is what it is. I want to sit here and play with the tune for a minute. I remember when I used to think this was a lot of power. Boy, the universe has changed and gotten bigger for me. Okay, so let's just do an absolute dead key test. Yeah, see, the dummy load's starting to have a bad day. Hold on. The dummy load's not happy. And I got a connector that's starting to give me some shit, so we're gonna have to stop here for a minute, but I want to show you this. Hello, 1, 2. We're gonna put about 2,300 watts, 2,400 watts peak in it, and we should get 18 to almost 19,000 peak out of it, which is the max it should do, in my opinion. Hello, hello. 19,000 bird on a 25,000 watt element. And it's creepy every time that needle jumps over there to the corner. But literally it's the connection at the line at the dummy load. Alright, so let's have a little bit of fun here. We're not going to key it like this for very long. So our middle point here on this meter you can see is a 10. So we're reading that top scale. So you add 3 zeros to that. That's 10,000 watts carrier. We should get around 8,000 to 9,000 watts carrier with the amount of drive I can produce with this radio going into this amp. So let's go, we'll turn the dead key all the way down. There's 5,000. 6, 7. Back it down to about 4,000 watts. So we took it to 9,200 watts, 9,800 watts carrier. I don't dare press it any further than that because I'm going to end up having connectors blow apart. But the moral of the story is the 3,000 runs perfectly. And I think my guy on the other end, he's going to have a lot of fun with this. I really do. I knew this amp was working 100% when I picked it up. And I knew it was working 100% as soon as I stepped on the pedal and then put 400 or 500 watts of drive in it, and it took off and made 13,000, 14,000 watts a peak. It was happy, right? All this other stuff is for the naysayers. You wouldn't believe. I mean, you wouldn't believe. Well, you know, BBI 3000 should do 10,000 watt dead. Yeah, sure, it can. It cannot last that way. The anode will melt down and stuff will happen. Lightning bolts will come from the sky and the Lord might smite us down. I mean, it's just 19,000 watt peak. And just keep in mind, put 19,000 watts through RG393 and we're putting it through like 24 feet plus. And then in the middle we've got a bunch of line sections and couplers and connectors and whatchamadoodleys. Let's see, what is the dummy load at right now? (107, 114, 115 degrees). That connector's at 104. This piece of coax is at 92, 93 degrees, and the ambient air temperature is 77. (69.1). Ambient air. That dummy low is down there screaming and all the connectors are having a bad day. So we're going to cut this off here. The point's proven, the amp works perfect. The only thing I did is I wanted to upgrade the fans on the bleeders and upgrade the fan on the rectifying diodes, which I did. Thing took off and ran like a Swiss watch. So on that note, tomorrow is all about packing. I'm going to go to my niece's wedding and then I'm going to get my happy ass up and we're going to load this thing up and we're going to go start our drive and we're going to take it home to its owner. So Gentleman the Hellraiser, it's on its second owner. The Exorcist is on the second owner. And the Demon, which is owned by my very good friend, and I built him this amp specifically. I was so excited when he decided to buy this 3000 for me. My buddy Steve. But I think for the right amount of money, as little as he's talking on the radio anymore because he's so over it, he'd probably sell it too. I'm telling you guys, things just churn in this business. I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Jason, who was the previous owner of this. I understand why you want to sell it. I'm glad that you let me put my fingers back through it and play with it once again, and let me be involved in the sale of it, and let me be involved with the picking of the person that it goes to. You guys would be surprised how important that is. This gentleman that bought this amp doesn't have it yet, but he loves it. He's watched, he told me today or yesterday, every video that I put out about building this box, he's watched it several times. He's excited to get it. He's going to cherish it, and he's not going to be abusive to it. Like, he's not going to sit there and ass pound the crap out of the box with drive. He's going to just throw 500 to 800 watts peak into it, and whatever it makes, 15 to 14,000, whatever on his setup, he's going to be happy with that. Right? He's not going to run it to 11. Those are the customers you want. The guy that says, man, I'm going to get 3,000. I'm going to key that thing at 10,000 watts, and I'm going to talk on it all day long, and I'm going to harass every truck driver, and la 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 la. No. Look, the numbers on the tube are, in the CB world, a little bit irrelevant. But if you want to do a 10,000 watt carrier going forward, buy a 10,000. You want to do 15 to 20,000 watts, buy a 15. You want to do 20 to 25,000 at around 30, buy a 20. And then start talking about doing pairs. You want to do a 3 kid at 2,500, 2,000 watts, and just let it go forward, and it'll last you forever. Especially with the tubes, even Penta, come to find out, my buddy Chuck called over to Penta today to want to get a 3,000 tube from them with the BBI discount, with the first time buyers discount. It was like $11.75. So they've gone up $200+ because of tariffs. Gone are the days of the $600-700 watt or $600 to $700 3000. Those are gone. iMac tube, like what's in this one, an Aconco rebuild iMac, and they're almost $3,000. To have a tube rebuilt, $3,000. So, just saying, the watts don't lie, but the party's getting expensive. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and following along with the saga that I have going on over here. Hellraiser, owner number 2. Man, I'm excited. Truck's running perfect. The piece of equipment that I had to get ready to go is good to go. I've got 24 hours plus before I've got to leave here, and I have absolutely nothing I have to fix. I have no stress. I'm going to go in and slap my old lady on the butt and go to bed. I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I am so grateful that I get to be here and do this as my job, and I get to work for all of you. Lord, I don't know what else I would do. I'm so broken now. I appreciate you, gents. I'll see you. Big super shout out to the Patreon boys. Thank you for making this an ad-free video as always. Another yell at Siglant, XS, Penta, Coaxial Dynamics, Bird, our buddies at Steam and Coax, MechMan, Odyssey Batteries. I'll see you. Click, click.